I'm djTLM, and this is Share the Knowledge. Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy djTLM. You're checking out the Share the Knowledge podcast right here on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Anchor. And maybe you're checking out one of the video clips on YouTube. That's youtube.com/djTLMtv. This is my weekly podcast, educational podcast for DJs, where I answer questions that I receive on a weekly basis. And I also have a live stream on Facebook, and I'll be answering a couple of questions from there as well. So this next question is from Nigeria, and I have to give a big shout out to all the people, all my followers in Nigeria, because they get a lot of support from there. So I don't know what it is about Nigeria, but I get a lot of love from Nigeria. So big shout out to all DJs out there. Now, this is from a DJ who started to DJ fully this year, and he's been faced with challenges. Now, one of the challenges is when he's playing at a party, most of the times he doesn't know what to play next from his head until he scrolls through his playlist. How can I correct this, djTLM? Well, this is not really a question of correcting it, because it's not that you should know everything by heart from your head. That's not how it works. So now, of course, this all depends on if you're practicing your sets or playing freestyle. But if I take it back to the days when I was still just using vinyl, I brought my vinyl. I had no playlist. I would play freestyle. But when I play a track, sometimes straight off the top in my head, I will get an idea of which track I want to play next. That's just because I play that one track, and when I hear that track through the speakers, I catch that vibe. And because I'm a fan, I'm a lover of the music, when I hear a track that I really like, I start to think of other tracks I like. So when I play that one track, a lot of times that'll give me an idea of like, oh, now I want to hear this. And in my case, I can, because I'm in control. I'm the one playing the records. So I go grab that record. But there's been plenty of times in my vinyl days where I had no idea what I was going to play next. And what a DJ does then is he turns around towards his crates, and you start lifting up sleeves one after the other, looking at the titles until you find one, and it clicks like, yeah, that's the one. That's the one I'm going to play next. So that's what we did all the time. You look for the next track. It's not like you have to do it all in your head. So like I said, this is not a question of correcting something. You don't have to correct this, but just realize that it's pretty normal. Now, here's the thing, though. Knowing your music is something that is essential, because like I said, half of the time I would catch that vibe, and then I would automatically get an idea of what track to play next. That's because I knew the tracks that I had in my crates. If you know your collection and you love the music that you play, if you're playing one track that's in a certain vibe, most likely you will have an idea of which tracks you want to play, and you can grab another track. And if you lose that inspiration for a second, then you go into your crates and you just go through the sleeves. Or now, of course, like I do in Serato, I just scroll through my folders. Or if you're using Rekordbox, through your playlists, whatever you use, now you're scrolling. There's nothing wrong with that. That's getting inspiration from the tracks that you see in that list. So never worry about that. But knowing your music really, really helps. Knowing what you have on your hard drive, knowing what you have in your crates, that makes it great. And I don't see the other question here, but I had a question that kind of relates to this. And that question was from someone who was asking me how I used to do it back in the days before I was playing digitally, before I had the BPM info, how I would play tracks, how I would beat match, or if I would just drop everything on the one. Again, this is where knowing your music comes into play. I never knew about mixing according to BPM until I started to play digitally and I could see that BPM info. So I was beat matching by ear, but I didn't have my crates in a certain sorted out by BPM. Now, I did see DJs that would have the BPM written on their sleeves, the sleeves of their vinyl, and I never understood why they did that until I started to play digitally And then I was like, hey, wow, sorting by BPM is pretty cool because it tells you automatically which tracks are in the same BPM range and which tracks will be easier to mix. Now, the way we did it before we had the BPM info is knowing your music would tell you which track would probably fit. Now, granted, sometimes you were wrong. Sometimes I would play a track and I'd be like, oh, I want to play this one next. I would grab that track, put it on, try to cue it. And within the first 2 seconds, I could hear like, oh, wait a minute, that is a totally different tempo. So in my mind, I thought it was right. And as soon as I heard it, I could hear like, okay, this is not going to work. And most of the times I would just take that record off again and look for something else. But of course, if you do want to switch and play something that is a totally different BPM range, you can do that, but then you can't beat match. Then you're not going to sync them. Then you're going to just drop it on the one or take that one track out, interact with the crowd, and then bring in that new track. But again, knowing your music, knowing your collection, and more importantly, knowing what you brought to the club, that is essential. That's going to help you out most of the times. That's going to give you a lot of inspiration for knowing what to play next.